Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. One of the 12, who was called Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests and said, "What are you willing to give me if I hand him over to you?" They paid him 30 pieces of silver, and from that time on he looked for an opportunity to hand him over. On the first day of the feast of unleavened bread, the disciples approached Jesus and said, "What do you want us to prepare for you to eat, the Passover?" He said, "Go into the city to a certain man and tell him, 'The teacher says, my appointed time draws near. In your house I shall celebrate the Passover with my disciples.'" The disciples then did as Jesus had ordered and prepared the Passover. When it was evening, he reclined at table with the 12, and while they were eating, he said, "Amen, I say to you, one of you will betray me." Deeply distressed at this, they began to say to one another, "Surely it is not I, Lord." He said in reply, "He who has dipped his hand into the dish with me is the one who will betray me. The Son of Man indeed goes, as is written of him. But woe to that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would be better for that man if he had never been born." Then Judas, his betrayer, said in reply, "Surely it is not I, Rabbi." He answered, "You have said so." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
One of the greater theological truths I learned was that God's will cannot be thwarted. In other words, everything that happens in some degree according to God's will. Like he always allows it. If he didn't want to allow it, he wouldn't. He has the power not to allow it. That's God. He can do anything. So I bring that up today because of the problem of evil. How could an all-loving God will evil? Well, he doesn't will evil. And this is where the distinction comes in. So there again, everything that happens is according to God's will in one way, shape, or another. But we distinguish between two modes of God's will. We would say his perfect will and his permissive will. So we see this action of God's will or acting in accord with God's will in today's gospel. So Jesus, well before this said, "Father, not my will be done, but your will be done." Jesus participated in God's perfect will. God's saying, "Come, I want you to do this." "Yes, I'm doing it." Perfect will. Follows the plan. Okay, then there's a permissive will, Judas, right? So Judas says, "No, I don't want to act in accord with what God really wants to have happen," whatever that might have been, I don't know. But anyway, he chose evil, but yet even in that evil, God's will is done. God permits that evil to happen. He does not do it. He does not will that, but he permits it. Why? To bring about a greater good. So this line always gets me when Jesus said, "The Son of Man indeed goes as it is written, but woe to that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed." So God's will is going to happen, no matter whether you are participating in his plan or doing evil. His will is going to happen, right? But see, the beauty in that is that God permits evil to happen to bring about a greater good. So he permitted Judas to betray Jesus and for his son Jesus to be crucified. Why? To bring about the resurrection. So that's kind of the beauty of all this, that, hey, anything that happens, even the evil out there today in this world, God is permitting. He allows it. Why? To punish us? No. To bring about a greater good. What is that greater good? I don't know. But we can have that confidence that that's what he's about, right? We see it on the cross and the resurrection. That's what this season reminds us of. So I guess as we now kind of draw a conclusion to the Lenten season and enter the Triduum, the Holy of Holies, this is the last Mass celebrated outside of the Paschal feasts. Let's kind of, a gut check always. What side of the fence am I on? Sure. But even, discerning the actions of the world, seeing the evil, seeing the good, not, being stuck in the middle kind of. Let's just trust that God's will is done in all matters. Let's try our best to participate in his perfect will, right? But even understand that even in his permissive will, when he allows evil, he can bring good out of that. And the resurrection, the crucifixion, and the resurrection is testimony to that. So let's have faith. Let's not get worked up. Let's be at peace. God's will be done.